NTA International News.
Federal government approves establishment of National Council on Hydrocarbons as strategy towards lasting solution to socio-economic and security challenges in the Niger Delta region. EFCC boss tells Nigerians to expect more investigations, convictions and recovery of stolen assets as fight against corruption rages on. Ministry of Foreign Affairs seeks increased support from French government on intelligence sharing and information on menace of Boko Haram. Thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I am Ifeanyi Okafor. On top of the news, the federal government has approved the establishment of the National Council on Hydrocarbons as a strategic measure towards finding lasting solution to the socio-economic and security challenges in the oil-rich Niger Delta region. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari deliberated extensively on the memo by the Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Ibe Kachuku, on the situation in the nation's oil industry, the Niger Delta region, and the economy. Its recommendations on the need to revive the National Council on Hydrocarbons that went into oblivion was unanimously approved. It is expected to serve as ombudsman that meets in extraordinary times to review policy decisions and actions towards achieving stability in Nigeria's oil industry and the production environment.
It should be a gathering of people from the business sector, people from the oil sector, people from the communities where oil is produced, ministries that are directly or indirectly affected by some of the policies that we roll out in the Ministry of Petroleum. The criticality of that is that as we continue the dialogue that we've been having and preparing for much more intensive dialogue with militants, creating such a fora enables everybody who has an interest, one way or the other, to converge and to help develop a thinking process that will guide policies in this sector.
Dr. Kachuku, who also secured the Council's approval for the hosting of an international gas flare reduction conference in the country next month, briefed members on the expected gains from the ministry's investment drive, otherwise known as the roadshow in China.
My target, the target we had when we went to China was to raise about 40 billion, which is the total cost of our total infrastructural gap for the oil industry. We raised about 75.6, 69 of which were government and NNPC related potential investments and loans, and the rest directly to the private sector. If we get even 20% of that, that will be a major achievement for us.
Another memo by the Minister of Power, Works and Housing on the purchase of new transformers for installation at Shiroro, Oshogbo and Kumbotso power substations also received the approval of the Council. This is aimed at expanding as well as enhancing the service delivery capacity of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN.
The purpose is to continue to reinforce, to expand and to maintain the existing transmission capacity so that as the progress of our incremental power initiative expands and achieves its purpose, the transmission system as the transporter is able to competently deliver the power.
Meanwhile, as a deliberate attempt towards strengthening the criminal justice system and decongesting the prisons, the government approved the purchase of 320 operational vehicles valued at about 3.5 billion naira for the nation's prison services.
We are making efforts to see how best we can improve in terms of conveying prison inmates to courts in particular, so that we do not jeopardize their chances of getting justice. And this has been happening because for a very long time the prison system has suffered lack of these operational vehicles, and as such quite a number of prisoners remain in prison longer than necessary because they do not have the opportunity to be conveyed to the courts.
With over 70% of the 65,000 prison inmates in Nigeria still awaiting trial, Interior Minister Abdurrahman Dambazau said critical steps have been taken towards achieving greater synergy between the courts, the police, and prison authorities for speedy administration of justice and decongestion of prisons. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
We'll take on judicial matters next as the trial of the Senate President Abuja Bukola Saraki over alleged false declaration of assets has resumed at the Code of Conduct Tribunal with yet another setback as the tribunal turned down an application by the defense for the chairman to disqualify himself from presiding. Aliu Tukur has the details.
After over 3 months break, the Senate President arrived at the tribunal surrounded by security personnel, political associates and colleagues to hear the ruling on the motion filed by one of his counsel, Paul Irokoro. The motion is seeking the chairman of the tribunal, Alhaji Umar, to disqualify himself for the second time again from participating in the trial over alleged biased disposition. The motion came as a result of a statement by the chairman of the tribunal on 7th of June, where he said that the delay tactics employed by the defense team will not reduce the consequences the defendant will face at the end of the trial. Before the ruling, the chairman said his comment was made with a free mind and without prejudice to the Senate President and the trial. Delivering the ruling, the chairman said he cannot afford to step down from the trial because doing so will automatically stop the trial. He pointed that the 1999 Constitution conferred jurisdiction on asset declaration matters on the tribunal only, not any other court, and also makes provision for the chairman and 2 other members, adding that the moment he disqualifies himself, the tribunal will collapse because it must have a chairman. Dismissing the application, the chairman said the defendant can use the outcome of the ruling as a ground for appealing. After turning down the application filed by the defendant, the chairman of the tribunal adjourned the case to 7th and 8th of November for continuation. In Abuja, Aliu Tukur, NTA News.
Turning to National Assembly matters now, Speaker House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara has assured Nigerians that the House will pursue all necessary provisions within the law to ensure transparency, accountability and due process in the public service. He stated this at the inaugural meeting of the House Ad Hoc Committee on Insurance. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Zumba reports.
On 19th July, a resolution was passed mandating the committee to investigate alleged fraudulent multi-billion naira cash payments to government officials by insurance companies and to ascertain government fixed and non-fixed assets by way of return on premiums. Speaker, represented by Deputy Leader, told the committee to compel the head of service of the Federation and other government agencies to provide details of all premiums.
General and related government assets within the last 3 years. Carry out an in-depth audit of the selection process and execution of such covers by government assets underwriters with the view of eradicating this fraudulent process.
Letters were forwarded to the head of service of the Federation, the Minister for Finance, head of all statutory government corporations, affected ministries and registered insurance companies in Nigeria, requesting for details of all insurance covers bought on behalf of and sold to the federal government of Nigeria during the years under review.
Out of 85 government corporations that have been invited, only 20 has responded in correspondence to the committee. That is about 25%. And for the insurance companies, it's only 28 out of 56.
Chairman of the committee, Representative Adekunle Akinlade, enjoined all affected organizations to unfailingly provide the required information in the prescribed format on or before Monday, 10th October 2016. From the National Assembly, Ifeanyi Zumba, NTA News.
As the nation continues in the fight against corruption, the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, has told Nigerians to expect more investigations, convictions and recovery of stolen assets. Ibrahim Magu stated this at the unveiling of a logo of Creative Youth Initiative Against Corruption held in Abuja. Edino Justice has the details.
The initiative, a non-governmental organization, is aimed at inculcating into young children moral values that will enable them to shun and fight corruption even at their levels. The EFCC acting chairman said the commission was equipped more than ever before to fight a winnable and sustainable fight against corruption in the country.
Expect to see more investigations, more arrests, more trials. Our children must see that there is a future away from corruption and be encouraged to take that path of honor.
The initiator of the forum, Mrs. Foluke Michael, said the project will impact in children ethical values through mentorship, creativity, and use of online applications.
Our overall goal is to contribute to nation development through creative development with focus on war against corruption. We are going to be working with their creativity to develop Nigeria.
Other speakers and the children, through different presentations, demonstrated their resolve to stand against corruption in Nigeria. The project is one of the preventive initiatives of EFCC, which says the fight requires the support of all Nigerians. Arena Justice, NTA News.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Shola Enikonlaye, has suggested increased support from the French government on intelligence sharing and information gathering towards degrading the menace of Boko Haram in the northeast of Nigeria. Ambassador Enikonlaye said this at a strategic meeting with the French ambassador to Nigeria. Gabriel Odu reports.
Acknowledging the contributions of the French government to Nigeria in tackling terrorism, having had similar experiences, the Permanent Secretary said terrorists have now chosen soft targets, hence the need for heightened surveillance.
We want to see increased assistance to the IDPs in terms of rehabilitation, in terms of reconstruction, in terms of reintegration, especially those who are coming back, those of them who have been severely traumatized.
This bilateral relationship between Nigeria and France has developed very positively over the last years. Well, partly and ironically because of Boko Haram. Yeah. We had to work together to face this common threat.
On economic front, both agreed that Nigeria is France's first and biggest trading partner in Africa. The meeting also discussed the upcoming Africa-France Summit on security and economic cooperation with special focus on maritime security in the continent. From the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja, Gabriel Odu, NTA News.
The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons wants the international community and public-spirited individuals to support all efforts geared towards creating a conducive environment for IDPs to return home and stay safe. The Federal Commissioner, Sadia Umar Farouk, made the appeal in Abuja while introducing a program for the internally displaced persons, Operation Back Home. Chukwunoso Nwabweze has the report.
For no fault of theirs, they have been displaced from their original place of abode, and statistics reveal they number more than 2 million. However, with the present administration's degrading of the insurgents and peace returning to hitherto hostile communities in the country, the new Federal Commission on National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons says it is time for the IDPs across the country to return home through the Operation Back Home campaign.
IDPs are not only subjected to undue hunger, homelessness, but dehumanized. We must put all hands on deck to provide them food, shelter, and hope for better life.
But how ready is the Commission to embark on this capital-intensive initiative?
Our plan is to collaborate with all the strategic partners. We're going to work hand in hand with all the relevant stakeholders to see that these things are addressed.
The commissioner later went into a closed-door meeting with the management of the commission to strategize on ways of delivering on her mandate. In Abuja, Chukwunoso Nwabweze, NTA News.
Moving on to electoral matters, the contribution of the media in improving Nigeria's electoral process through ethical and professional practice in electoral reportage took center stage as INEC Electoral Institute held its 13th series of lecture, Political correspondent Abdullahi Garba Birninkudu reports that the lecture aims at enforcing related codes in journalism practice.
Gathered in Hall is a combination of media practitioners, electoral umpire, and also the political parties discussing this issue of electoral reportage because of its sensitive nature and how journalists could help in deepening Nigeria's democracy. Setting the tone of the lecture, Professor Adigun Abaji of the University of Ibadan stressed the need for ethical practice in all stages of political coverages, de-emphasizing certification to professionalism in practice and above all prioritizing news value to commercialization.
To encourage devolution of activities.
The presence of regulatory body of MPC and other media executives provided opportunity to raise fundamental issues towards engendering the electoral coverages.
And we as journalists must take up this challenge.
What do we need to do? Are we to follow the sensationalism of CNN, who came to cover us in 2015? Without squabble, without anything, there was nothing to cover. But here we have to maintain the social order.
The Independent National Electoral Commission says the choice of the topic is to remind the media of its expected roles in electoral battles.
How can we strike a precarious balance? Or indeed, how can assertion be informed by facts, analysis be grounded in facts?
In Abuja, Abdullahi Garba Birninkudu, NTA News.
You're watching NTA International News live from Abuja. More reports after the break.
Call of change, stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go to so let the change begin from within. Look at you, Ogerula. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Great to have you back on the news. For latest happenings in the financial sector, Moplang Dakok is our guide.
The federal government is set to borrow 105 billion naira bonds at an auction on October 12. The Debt Management Office, which made this known, said it would raise 35 billion naira each from debt maturing in 2021, 2026 and 2036 using the Dutch auction system. The government has estimated that it would borrow about 900 billion naira from the local debt market this year to fund a budget deficit of 2.2 trillion naira. Still on economic matters, President of the ECOWAS Commission, Marcel de Souza, has said, despite the potential negative impact of Nigeria's recession on the region, some countries have recorded strong growth in 2016. While Niger Republic is one of the least affected, Benin Republic is one of the worst affected. The floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed on a negative note Wednesday. Moplang Dakok, NTA News.
Away from business to health, lifestyle modification, choice of food and regular checks have been identified as key to getting rid of the trauma of late detection of cancer. As Case Givers campaign in Abuja, Uchenwizu has details.
I am a living testimony that you can actually survive cancer. When a person is diagnosed with cancer, it is not the end of life. It is not a death sentence like we are made to think it is in Nigeria.
Temilolu Adeboye had gone through the excruciating pain of breast cancer and tells a success story which she said was made possible due to early detection. Cancer is regarded as the #2 killer disease globally, and regrettably, Nigeria is now ranked highest with cancer mortality by the World Health Organization in the report that shows 4 out of every 5 Nigerians die because of late presentation at hospitals.
What government is doing through the National Cancer Control Program within the ministry is to work with the teaching hospitals where priority services could be provided.
These developments propelled stakeholders in cancer control, such as the Breast Without Spots group, to intensify advocacy to educate Nigerians on the danger of late detection.
Many of the things we're saying, many people don't know.
The government has the critical power to mobilize and the resources that will avail every Nigerian to be screened of cancer.
5th October has been designated nationwide as Go Pink Day to help raise awareness. The message from these stakeholders in cancer control is that prevention is better than cure. That is why they call on all Nigerians to avail themselves for regular screening. Uche Nwizu, NTA News.
Many thanks, Uche. Now, Minister of Information and Culture Olai Mohammed is optimistic of the administration's commitment to addressing the issue of youth unemployment in the country. The minister, who made this known at the 13th Abuja International Film Festival, says this will be attainable if the creative industry is given adequate attention. Ngozi Chude reports.
It is the convergence of practitioners in Nollywood. Their goal is driven to promote an open climate for the diversity of African stories told by different countries and filmmakers. Declaring the film festival open, the Minister of Information and Culture says the Nigerian film industry, with its international appeal, is a catalyst as foreign exchange earner and therefore should be encouraged to optimally harness its potentials. He revealed that government is working towards driving a strange mandate in this direction.
We are going to focus on the aspects of industry that will allow us to achieve creation of jobs and development of skilled and managerial abilities. 2, formalizing and growing the export of all aspects of the industry so that it becomes a significant foreign exchange earner for the country.
Over the last 12 years, the Abuja Film Festival has experienced its fair share of challenges. However, the organizers believe the purpose of connecting global audiences in this edition will fully be realized. Collaborating with the U.S. and Mexican embassies, the 13th Abuja International Film Festival will facilitate dialogue between producers, cinematographers, distributors and actors from over 10 countries. The 4-day event is expected to screen 54 films in Abuja. Ngozi Chude, NTA News.
Staying with art and culture, exploring the gold mine inherent in Nigeria's creative industries is the theme of the National Festival of Arts and Culture NAFES 2016, taking place in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, South Nigeria. Observers believe that the theme of the event seems to have been conceived deliberately in line with the urgent need to boost Nigeria's economy via innovation. Okwekwenyong takes a look at the theme of the 29th edition of the Cultural Fiesta.
NAFES was established in 1970 after the end of Nigeria's civil war to foster national unity, coordinate, preserve, promote, and present the very best of the country's arts and culture, among other mandates. Analysts believe that the theme for this year could not come at a better time than now.
We should actually start thinking
and
of how to generate our own wealth, even from within. I know it is tough, but it's not impossible.
Busayo Akisoya has been exploring the gold mine inherent, but it has not been without challenges.
Because when people buy from us, when they accept it, we can give back to the society.
The problem we have is in the area of information. Again, the issues of tourism is treated with levity.
How then can creative industries rise to unviable heights through the exploitation of the positive dynamics of Nigeria's heritage?
People like you that have the media that can
expose or bring this thing to the average Nigerian to see.
Stakeholders are also calling for the reorientation of Nigerians towards accepting finished goods made by Nigerians in Nigeria. This development, they say, will increase our GDP and bring us out of the present economic recession which we find ourselves in. From the NAFEST 2016 here in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, I am Oku Ekpayong, NTA News.
The United Nations Security Council has voted former Prime Minister of Portugal, Antonio Guterres, as a new choice for Secretary General of the United Nations. It was a unanimous choice for the 15-member body, which is expected to recommend Guterres' candidacy to the UN General Assembly this Thursday. The Security Council will still need to adopt a resolution which needs at least 9 votes in favor and no votes to pass. And no vetoes to pass. This will be done behind closed doors. If it sails through, Antonio Guterres will replace Ban Ki-moon, who steps down in January 2017. And our sports, 1,750 athletes to compete in Nigeria's Army Sports Festival as Tyson Fury reveals he is on drugs. Amanzi Marcus reports.
The Abuja National Stadium will host the 16th edition of the Nigerian Army Games, holding from October 8 to 15. 7 Army formations will compete in 19 events, with water sports making its debut, but as a demonstration sport. This was the thrust of a media conference addressed by the Chief of Army Staff at the Army headquarters in Abuja midweek.
The scheduled sporting events will offer the Nigerian Army a platform to sustain and improve the cordial relationship between the military and the civil populace, and equally provide the opportunity to contribute its quota to national development in the areas of sports.
The 7 and 8 divisions of the Nigerian Army are exempted from the games due to the ongoing military action against Boko Haram in the northeast, and 1,750 athletes will compete in the revived games. Debutants Team Ofiku of Kaduna whitewashed Team Anambra 7 matches to 0 in a Week 4 match of the Nigerian Communications Commission Tennis League decided at the Onitsha Sports Club over 2 days. The best match of the tie lasted 2 hours 30 minutes, with Emmanuel Idoko beating Michael Chuma of Team Anambra 6-4, love 6, 6-3. The world heavyweight boxing champion Tyson Fury could lose his license after revealing he was taking cocaine. The 28-year-old British fighter said he is suffering from depression and claimed he had retired from boxing on Monday, only to retract his decision 3 hours later. With sports updates, Amanzi Marcus.
And time now for a look at Thursday's weather prospect in Nigeria and some cities of the world. And that concludes the news on NTA International. I am Ifeanyi Okafor. Many thanks for watching.